neighborhood old soldier, coming at you again from a warm, balmy Robeson County morning. Yeah, I said warm and I said balmy. Humidity's up and they're calling for rain this weekend starting tomorrow. Bright side is next week temperature goes, we get back in some cooler temps, thank God. Anyways, for you, Brother Kyle, we are headed back to the community college. It's basically my first official day back at work for the semester. Hopefully I get to meet my students today. Tell them what to expect, where we plan to get to, and how we're going to get there, and all that good mess. With all that in mind, for all those that still have kids in school, God bless you. For those you got kids in public school, I pray for you. Some of these public schools have lost their mother-loving minds. They really have. Like I said in the video earlier, I think nationwide, it's one of the few times I think there should be a national bill passed. Nationwide, public schools can't begin until the day after Labor Day. Of course, there's a whole lot I'd like to put in national, keep schools from doing certain things and adding certain things back in. You see, there's a lot of school systems right now, states that are putting the Bible back into the classroom for study, putting the Ten Commandments back in the classroom for guidance. Now, with that being said, whether you're a Christian, a Jew, Muslim, atheist, the Ten Commandments were and are a guideline to live by. Okay. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that because these school systems are putting them back in there, that they are pushing an agenda. And the real reality of things is this: if they're going to allow Fruit Loopian to be taught, they should allow the Bible to be taught and Ten Commandments as well. Well, no, what do you mean by Fruit Loopian? Well, if they're going to allow teachers to indoctrinate children teach children that boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and that it's okay for a child to be an animal and communicate using animal noises. No, that child needs to have their butt tore up, told to act right. There's a time and place for pretending, there's a time and place to pay attention and be a human being. Them parents out there that complain that schools don't let their children act out their animal dreams, well, you know what? Y'all are part of the problem. All y'all need to be locked up in a padded cell with a straight jacket until you get your head out of your ass. Not safe for working kids, sorry. If you want to treat your kid like a dog or a cat when they come home, that's your business. I don't agree with it. And if you ask me, I'm going to tell you what I think. But when they come out in public, you act like children, human beings. But the fact that you got these parents pushing for this crap, lock them all up in a padded room with a straight jacket is my belief. And stop teaching about, or For them teachers out there putting their sexual orientation out there in the classroom. What you do at home behind closed doors is your own business, and who you're with is your own business. Children don't need to know who you're laying up in bed with at night. That should be all the way until they turn 18. They turn 18, you can tell them your whole life story for all I care. Keep it out of the classrooms. So bad now our military's a laughing joke around the world because of it. There are memes all over the internet I keep watching. If we ever get into a knockdown, drag out, peer-to-peer fight, we're going to be hurting, folks. We're going to absolutely be hurting. And for those of you who don't know what that means, let me explain something. Desert Storm was not a peer-to-peer conflict. On paper, it might have appeared to have been, but it really wasn't. The Iraqi army was not up to par with the coalition forces put together to take on Saddam Hussein during the Gulf War. He had the machinery, yes, and a lot of his units had the training. But they were an army under dictatorship, meaning that the generals that were in power were not necessarily the best. They were just the ones that were the most loyal to the party. We haven't fought a peer-to-peer war. Most people say World War II. I'll go ahead and say Korea. So the Chinese got involved. There were some knockdown, drag-out fights. 3 years and some change. Some would argue Vietnam. Vietnam was a long, drawn-out war, much like the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, but really wasn't peer-to-peer. One or two battles during the Vietnam War that I can think of that close to peer-to-peer, and they were towards late into the war. North Vietnamese come across the border with armor. It was the first time we had to call in attack helicopters and use anti-armor rounds. And after we completely pulled out, they come across the border in 75. A lot of tanks. South Vietnamese army didn't stand a chance. Anyway, let me get off that tangent. And so, back to the whole thing about a peer-to-peer fight. That's us up against a force, technologically and training-wise, that's equal to or slightly superior than us, if you will. So when we got involved in World War II, we weren't quite up to par with our German enemies or our Japanese enemies. The Italians, what can I say? Mussolini thought he had something he really didn't. Now, mind you, a few years prior to, we started rebuilding our army, if you will. So much so that several National Guard units were called to active duty for a period of 1 year. So about the time that we got involved, we had, we finally got our numbers up to close to 1 million men in the Army. I had to go back and look at the numbers for the Marines and the Navy and all that. And by the end of the war, over 8 million men and women had served. But the long short of it is this. In the decades leading up to World War II, we were woefully and inadequately prepared to fight an enemy anywhere around the globe. Oh, that's crazy. Old soldier. We had the best army in World War I. No, we didn't. We got up to that, but at the start of the war, before when we got involved, we had to draft an army. Why? Because the regular standing army was not that large. The core of professionals that we had were not adept or trained on the modern battlefield. You had officers leading units in World War I. The last major conflict they'd fought in was the Spanish-American War, 1898, 1899, or maybe the Philippine insurrection in the early 1900s. What I'm getting at is this. Spanish-American War, the only reason we won that one is we had a strong Navy and a determined will to win. Believe it or not, the Spanish troops in Cuba were well trained. They had a far superior rifle than we did. It's just the Spanish Empire itself had already started to crumble. All those things had an effect when we went down. Same thing when we took the Philippines. The Philippines was not as easy a fight as people really believe it was. Because after we secured the major cities, there was still the element of Philippines that wanted complete total independence. They rebelled against the Spanish, they rebelled against us. My point being is we always have a tendency to have to learn a harsh lesson before we get up to par on the battlefield. Okay? It was adamantly evident when we invaded North Africa. Because why? We had a generation of officers that had never seen battle. And the handful that had, their last fight was trench warfare in World War I. Now, mind you, the invasion of North Africa, we were really counting on the Vichy French just throwing up their arms and saying, hey, we surrender, we're going to join you guys. That didn't necessarily happen in a few places. Then when we got further into the interior and got into an actual knockdown, drag-out fight with the German army, got our nose bloodied pretty bad. Don't believe me? Go study the Battle of Kasserine Pass. And it led to the relief of quite a few officers. Okay? We had an army of men that had never been bloodied in combat. See, you can train all you want, but you don't know how you're going to react until you get into it. Now, let me bring this all the way back to full circle. Some of the BS that they're allowing to join our military today don't have the will to fight. They're joining because they need a paycheck. I'm just going to call it the way it is. Now, in my day, people joined for the paycheck too, but they didn't have that Fruit Loopian mentality they got today. They don't whine about every little thing. Yeah, soldiers whine and complain. That's what we do. But not to the point where they're at now. And damn sure not to the point of, I'm a she, even though you're a dude. And that's what you got to respect. The military is catering to a false sense of reality. You start doing that, you weaken the force. You weaken the force, you're setting yourself up for complete and utter defeat. People might disagree with me. You know what? Piss on them if they disagree with me. I don't give a damn. I'm just one man. But I've been around long enough to see a few things for what they are and how they are and what they do. So I really don't care what their opinion is. Watch these idiots pull out on this road here. But that's where I stand on things. We get into a knockdown, drag out, peer to peer, we're going to be in a world of hurt. We're going to be in a world of hurt. Because we're at the point now, vast majority of Desert Storm veterans are out now. Okay. That was the last real fight that we had where we, used armor and maneuver. But they're out now. You fast forward to the second war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, we weren't really fighting against any armor units, nor mechanized units. The military needs to get back to is a battlefield in depth, a defense in depth. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. I'm going to explain that today. People scoff at what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, but we need to take a hard, long look at what tactics are being used. I don't think we should be involved there. I think we should be sending either side anything. We are. Do I think other European nations are inevitably going to get involved? Yeah. Whether that happens or doesn't happen, I don't know, but I believe it will happen. And it's going to drag us in. I pray it doesn't. I hope it doesn't. But there you have it. Anyway, folks, there's my 7 cents worth today. Why 7 cents? Bidenomics, inflation. Y'all stay safe. Keep your eyes open, ear to the ground, keep your head on a swivel. Be safe out there. Friendly neighborhood old soldier out.